妈咪说要听那个。等一下，会把不要看的。妈咪说听这个 ，OK。
With the precision that goes out to the 10th place. Why did I do that? Well, when you learned about making measurements, you should have been told that average and instantaneous velocity. In On Your Own Problem 1.2, and in the example preceding it, we got answers that you might think are a bit strange. In the example, for instance, the sprinter's velocity over the entire trip was 3.8 meters per second in the direction of the finish line. You might find it odd that despite the fact that the sprinter traveled in both directions, his overall velocity was in the direction of the finish line. If you find it strange, don't worry. That's because we haven't discussed the difference between instantaneous and average velocity. We'll do that now. Instantaneous velocity, the velocity of an object at one moment in time. Average velocity, the velocity of an object over an extended period of time. These two concepts of velocity are quite different. To see how different they are, perform the following experiment. Now let's figure out what this experiment demonstrates. Compare your three velocities. If you did the experiment correctly, V1 should be less than V2. In addition, V3 should be between V1 and
I don't really have to
V2.
listen to this.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, the ball was speeding up the whole time it traveled down the board. Thus, V1 is the lowest because the ball had not sped up all of the way by the time it hit the first mark. V2 was larger than V1 because the ball had more time to speed up traveling down the second half of the board. The total velocity, V3, was the average of the two velocities you measured. That's why it falls in between them. So, which velocity, V1, V2, or V3, is the velocity of the ball as it traveled down the board? The answer is that all three are. However, they are measured over different time intervals. When we take the total displacement and divide by the time it takes to make that displacement, we are calculating the average velocity. V1 is the average velocity of the ball while it traveled down the first half of the board. V2 is the average velocity of the ball as it traveled down the second half of the board. And V3 is the average velocity as the ball traveled down the entire board.
But you know what? You said you want to be a student athlete. You need to take advantage. 你今天那个书你有读吗？你知道你不读，你不听，你知道晚上睡觉，你睡觉以后，妈咪是对我 daddy 怎么样？
怎么样？
他会骂我，他说为什么你都不那个，对不对？
我听。
那可是你自己要想听，就跟 daddy 刚刚坐在那边等你说 ，I was learning to program iOS, right？ 你要想要听，就是 you know that we're making the sacrifice. You are making sacrifice too, right? You know what I'm saying?
你就听。
你要听你自己听。我希望以后你是自己想听，不是 daddy 要放给你听，你懂我的意思吗
Now suppose we divided the board into 5 sections instead of just 2.
不然 daddy 就很难过
And suppose we measured